What's up, guys? Just wanted to update you. I just fellowshipping on TikTok as I do, and there's a woman who found a vision about this invasion coming to America that is happening now, and it reminded me of I've had multiple dreams of people invading my house because I don't have guns. It's just me. They just come in and they take over my house and I have to leave. So I'm prepared for that. I'm prepared to just get my cat in a backpack, get my dog on a leash, and just start walking. I've also had, these are not dreams, this was something different. Um, I've had a reoccurring vision of being almost lifeless on the floor of a helicopter. Um, So the dreams are sort of abstract, people coming in and just kind of like taking my home over at gunpoint. And that's one thing, we'll troubleshoot when that thing happens, if it does. But this other thing I'm telling you about is not a dream. These were not just dreams, but I've had a multiple reoccurring vision, like playing a timestamp in time, replaying a timestamp where I am laying almost lifeless on the floor of what I think is a helicopter. And in the vision, there's a co pilot, and his job is to keep an eye on me like a good guy, and he keeps checking for signs of life, like I'm almost dead. This is not a dream. This is like, it's like some point in time that keeps being replayed over and over again. It's a co-pilot checking on me, like desperate to check for sign of life. So with all this stuff that's going on, even though I'm a follower of Christ, militant for Christ, do Christ's bidding, I do not feel immune to the persecution and the violence that is likely to come my way. The stories, time and time again, is that God redeems you in the last second, right? In the last minute, in the last second, you are rescued. And very characteristic of what's not a dream, but this reoccurring vision, like it already happened and it's just being replayed, where I am laying almost lifeless on a helicopter bed. So this woman had made a video, and I just want to share like a little bit with you about war
About 2 years ago,
war coming to the U.S. soil.
I had a dream, one of many, of the U.S. being invaded by an outside nation, two outside nations. Just to briefly get into the dream, I might not get deep into detail, but I was sitting outside at the beginning of the dream talking to a friend of mine. It was casual conversation, a beautiful sunny day, a regular day. Okay, these huge black helicopters began landing in various places in the U.S. I had this knowing in my spirit. I never saw these helicopters within the U.S., but I looked it up on Google, and they're like war crafts that belong to the other countries. And so I ran in the house because I had some family members visiting at the time, and I let them know it's time.
And I did get brief intel about China. China is really, like, as a militant nation, very against pornography, very against it, very against the Whore of Babylon in America, by the way. So when this country is invaded, it's not all bad. It's not all bad. We need to have faith in Christ.
They're here, and it's like everybody was fearful within the house, except for me. Like, I had a calmness and a peace because I knew that this stuff was going to be coming. But one interesting thing about the dream is I had the knowing that they were about to get ready to go door to door and pull people out of their homes, and they knew everything about everyone who was living in the house. They knew everything about the house, the blueprint to the house, how many people were living in the house. And I knew that they knew these things because they were watching us through this particular app that I'm using right now. one of my family members asked panically, "Why didn't anyone tell us about this?" And I remember saying I did. And I remember hearing in my spirit, within the dream, it will happen suddenly. I've had multiple dreams. This dream has been reoccurring. It'll be the same type of situation, but it'll play out differently. Us being conquered by an outside nation who we know not the language of. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying all this, y'all, because it really just hurts me how we could plainly see the truth and what's going on right now. It's so many warning signs. If you're paying attention to what's going on in this nation, we can see, okay, it's the warning signs are there. But the main point that I want to focus on is Matthew chapter 24. I believe that Matthew chapter 24 is in chronological order. And Matthew chapter 24, if you don't know, it's about basically the disciples telling the Lord, Master, let us know, what's going to be happening at the time of your coming. And the Lord goes on to list things and lets us know. So I believe that we are in verse 6 of Matthew chapter 24. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. This is governmental prophecy. It can't be prayed away. But most importantly, I believe that we are going into verse 7. I believe that we're currently in verse 6. I believe that we're going into verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. For there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. Nation, Nation in the Greek translated as ethnos, ethnicity, race wars, civil war. That's what we're on the brink of. Before we can be conquered from without, there has to be chaos and war from within. And I'm not saying that this stuff is going to happen today, but I know that we are closer now than we've ever been, and the signs are obvious. And the thing that hurts me the most is that we take it as a joke. I see the comments on social media. We're laughing. We take everything as a joke. We think that all this other stuff can happen everywhere else, but as Americans, we're prideful, we're arrogant, we lack humility.
I did see another video of a man saying that Israel is not Israel. And I've been thinking this the whole time. The whole time I've been thinking all the analogies, the matrix overlay of what's happening in Israel, that's not actually Israel. It's happening in America. This man said it was Texas, New Mexico, and Colorado. He said, this is Israel. And I've been believing that this whole time. I've never heard anyone say that. But this man gives prophetic warnings. And this whole time, when people say Israel, war over there, no, dude, war right here. War in Texas. War where Israel's people are.
And we do not believe these things can come to our doorstep. And the Lord has been warning year after year after year after year, and we're ignoring it, and we're not taking heed. Just like in the dream, that family member who said, why didn't anyone tell us about this? I personally talked to that family member in real life and told them that war was coming, and they accused me of lying. And insane. I also had the knowing in the dream that so much time had passed on that people had forgotten about the warnings. And so moving on to, there shall be famines. A famine is coming. This has been warned about for years, but we're closer now than ever before. Pestilences, more pandemics. C-19 was a trial run, a test run.
It was. C-19 was a trial run, a test run. Aurora, Colorado is a trial run, a test run, because this stuff is going to happen again in 3.5 years, because you're going to get the Antichrist. And then when Christ actually comes back, there's going to be a whole other pandemic, a whole other thing. And that's when people go into the lake of fire.
There will be more pandemics. There will be more pestilences. I had a dream in 2020.
Like, this is just the beginning. People dropping dead in the streets.
And I use on social media, I use a lot of men and women of God content to warn, because I don't really speak out about this as much because people don't really listen to me. But
no, and that's the thing. People don't listen to women, but women and good men of God are the ones that are observing and like watching. And I don't know if it's a woman or a man thing, but I do know that when women speak, people generally don't listen. And it's weird because God's good women have the good oracle wisdom to see what's coming down the pike. And then God's good men have the good wisdom to see what's coming down the pike. And why are we polarizing ourselves to people who can't see it? It's to lift them up, to bring them up. But when they can't come up, when they can't join the party, when they can't get their wits about them, we're at this weird kind of breaking point that it's like snake eats its own tail. The snake eats its tail. The snake is eating its tail right now. That's why all this stuff is happening, because the serpent is eating its own tail. If you didn't cast off your demons, deal with your sin, go to therapy, then you still can't see what's going on. But the snake eats its own tail. A lot of people getting their wits about them, waking up, throwing off the whore, throwing off the beast. God's good men and God's good women. We need to create a culture again that is for humanity. Everything is happening because humanity is taking back over. This world is run by serpents. And a lot of the serpents are sick of the shit too. So there's a halfling situation going on there, and then the rest of them just want to maintain control. And they're such bullshit people. They should all be locked up. They do not belong in society. That's why the violence. So we get our wits about us, and I do not feel immune to the violence, and I'm here to endure the violence that comes my way. I did have multiple dreams of people just coming up to my door with guns and saying, get out, I live here now, and I will just leave. I will not, why would I resist? I will just leave. I also had not a dream, but multiple visions, not dreams. These are like replaying a timestamp in the time of this weird realm that we live in, where I'm laying almost lifeless on a helicopter floor. And somebody keeps looking back to make sure I'm still alive. And I keep looking at them to tell them I'm still alive, but it takes a lot of energy to look back and say I'm still alive. Something bad is happening to this country, and something bad is going to happen to all of us. And we have the faith in God to protect us, but that does not mean that we will not come upon some type of violence being forced against us. The rapture is only for 144,000 people. That is a very unnoticeable amount of people. And it's not the good saints of God, because those people are so kick ass that are going to be here to help people when shit hits the fan, maybe. That's what I think. I don't plan on going in the rapture. I plan on fighting and leaving in a divine way, but I don't plan on being raptured. And maybe, only God knows. But the 144K, that's a very unnoticeable amount of people. So the narrative that all believers go in the rapture, not pre-tribulation. In my objective biblical study, and not even me, I do not believe I'm immune to the violence coming this country's way. I believe I will be a victim of violence, but I do not manifest that. I hope for the best. But when it happens, like I said, I got plans. I will just leave. I will not fight back. I will, do everything to stay alive. And then I will become victorious. It's crazy. It's happening now. It's happening now. This is happening now. It seems. It's evident. Sorry. The evidence is like, it's evident. And then also, it's very strange. The phenomenons are very strange. And it seems to be the end. It seems to be the breaking point. I pray mercy. I pray this is not the fact. But also, the end is going to come at some point. It's going to happen at some point. It's going to happen. We can't pray mercy until it never happens. No. We pray mercy until God's final judgment comes upon the earth. And even when things look like they're getting so dark and so grim, when it seems like you are lifeless, He's going to save you in the last moment. He's going to save you in the last breath. He's going to save you in the last absolute moment because Jesus Christ died for us, and we now have to die for him, die for the faith. This is what I believe. And everyone else are maybe enemies to Christ, which doesn't mean they're bad people, but their Messiah is a little bit more like a different species. But in the meantime, we don't have to subscribe to the culture of this other species who think they're immune, because we as followers of Christ know that we are not immune and that we will die for the faith. And I don't think the mark of the beast is the worst thing ever. The second mark of the beast that's the next pandemic that's going to be terrible. And those people go in the lake of fire. I don't think everybody's fate is the same, but I am a militant follower of Christ, and I am prepared to experience violence against me. That's all I've experienced since I came to Christ, by the way. That's all I've experienced in this world. My whole life, all I've ever experienced was not wanting to be here. And then finally coming to Christ, going against Satanists in Austin, Texas, very victoriously against the child trafficking shit. Yeah, they're going to come against me because I came against them, because there's a balancing of the scales. But I know God's going to save me in the last minute. I know that my riches are not here. These riches are not riches. Like, the stuff that I endure on a day-to-day basis just doesn't even seem right. Like, I'm in a peasant class. I don't belong in a peasant class. So if violence has to come to me as a means to escape this final moment, then so be it. And I'm prepared for that because God has prepared me for that. And I hope that you are prepared for that as well. We never curse God. Whatever happens, don't ever curse God. Not now, not ever. Don't ever do it. Alrighty, that's that. You're the right kind of people. Have a great night. We'll talk to you again really soon.